Aisha, still sad about her husband's death, couldn't handle the accusations. She was too upset to defend herself against their anger. They accused her of causing Hakeem's death and trying to take their inheritance. Before Aisha knew what was happening, they started throwing her things out of the house, leaving her and her children with nothing. They called you a witch, accused you of killing your husband. This is crazy, Aminat said, her voice filled with anger. Once upon a time, in a busy city, there was a family called the Garba family. Everyone in the city knew and liked them. Mr. Garba, who everyone called Hakeem, was a clever doctor, and Mrs. Garba, whose name was Aisha, was a kind nurse. Aisha and Hakeem met when they were very young, back in their secondary school days. Hakeem was a very smart student, always at the top of his class. Aisha, on the other hand, was famous for her kindness and intelligence as well. Their paths had crossed one day when their science teacher had paired them for a project. Hakeem was impressed by Aisha's intelligence and her caring nature. They spent lots of time working together, chatting and laughing. Wow, Aisha, you're really good at this, Hakeem said one day as they worked together on their project. Thanks, Hakeem, you're pretty smart yourself, Aisha replied him with a beautiful smile. As they got to know each other better, they realized they had many things in common. They both loved helping each other and they dreamed of making a difference in the world. Slowly, their friendship turned into something more special. But their love story faced some challenges along the way. After secondary school, they had to go back to their respective hometowns to be with their families. They tried so much to stay in touch, but it was so hard. They missed each other a lot and wished they could be together again. I miss you, Hakeem, Aisha would say whenever they talked on the phone. I miss you too, Aisha. I can't wait to see you again, Hakeem would reply with a sigh. Finally, fate stepped in and brought them back together. Aisha and Hakeem met again at the university, where they were both studying to achieve their dreams. This time, they knew that they were meant to be together forever. They were always together, and their love only grew stronger with each passing day. After graduating from the university, Hakeem and Aisha got married and began their own family. They were so happy when they were blessed with twin baby boys. They named them Jamal and Jamil. The boys brought them lots of joy and laughter. Hakeem, you're such a wonderful husband, Aisha would often say, giving him a warm hug as he took care of his twin baby boys. Jamil and Jamal were always together, playing and helping their parents as they grew. They were good boys who did well academically. I just want to make you and the boys happy, Aisha, Hakeem would always say to his wife. Hakeem loved his family so much. He always made sure to buy them little treats whenever he returned from work, and this made Aisha and the boys very happy. One day, something terrible happened. Hakeem had an important meeting in another town and needed his car. He asked Jamal and Jamil to get it ready for him. Jamal obeyed right away, but Jamil was too busy playing video games and didn't hear his father calling him. Hakeem got upset and scolded Jamil, telling him to always listen when he is called. Aisha looked at them from the corner. She wanted to intervene, but she knew Hakeem meant only the best for their children. After Hakeem left, Aisha tried to call him, but he didn't answer. She became worried and paced around the house. Jamal, on seeing her, tried to comfort her and suggested they pray for his safety. Don't worry, Mama, Daddy will be fine, Jamal said, trying to reassure his mother. I hope so, Jamal. I can't bear the thought of anything happening to him, Aisha replied, wiping her eyes. Suddenly, Jamie rushed into the living room, telling them to turn on the television that there was a news he had just listened to. They watched in horror as they saw news about a car accident involving Hakeem's car. Aisha burst into tears, and their relatives and neighbor came to support her, telling her that she should be hopeful. It's going to be okay, Mama. Daddy will be fine, Jamal said again, trying to make his mother feel better. Jamal, I hope so. I can't bear the thought of anything happening to your father, Aisha replied, wiping her eyes. Meanwhile, Jamie felt guilty for not listening to his father earlier. I'm sorry, Mama. I feel like this is my fault. I should have been more responsible, he said, feeling ashamed. It's not your fault, my son. We don't know what happened yet. Let's just pray for your father's safety, Aisha said, putting her arms around him. As they waited for the news about Hakim, people came together to support the family. They prayed and hoped for his recovery. But tragically, they received the worst news. Hakim didn't survive the accident. He had passed away, leaving his family and everyone devastated. The next morning, after Hakim was laid to rest, the family gathered again, and this time it was for the reading of his will. The lawyer, Banji, arrived at the Garba's house. As he started reading the will, the room got tense. Hakim's wishes were clear. 70% of his things would go to his wife and son, 20% to the rest of his family members, and the remaining for charity. When Hakim's extended family heard this, chaos erupted. They accused Aisha of doing something wrong. They refused to believe that Hakim would leave them with so little. This woman has done something to our son, they shouted angrily. Aisha, still sad about her husband's death, couldn't handle the accusations. She was too upset to defend herself against their anger. Thankfully, Lawyer Banji stepped in and calmed things down before they got worse. After the family members left, Aisha felt so tired and sad. She had barely started to understand Akim's death, and now she had to deal with his family's anger. Alone in her sadness, Aisha tried to find comfort in her children. But when she went to check on Jamal and Jamil, she found them crying quietly in their room. Seeing her son sad made her even sadder. Aisha tried her best to make her children feel better, promising them that they would get through this together. She told them to try and rest, and after a while, they all fell asleep. The next morning, Aisha woke up to loud banging on her door. She opened it only to find Hakim's siblings right there, shouting and throwing insults and threats at her. They wanted her to leave the house right away. Aisha tried to talk to them, but they wouldn't listen. They accused her of causing Hakim's death and trying to take their inheritance. Before Aisha knew what was happening, they started throwing her things out of the house, leaving her and her children with nothing. Feeling helpless and sad, Aisha gathered her children and whatever they could save and left the house. They had nowhere to go and no one to help them. With heavy hearts, they started walking towards Aisha's mother's house, not knowing what would happen or what the future held for them. They walked on dusty roads, carrying their things on their head. Jamal and Jamil walked silently beside their mother, feeling sad and unsure about the future. Finally, they reached Amina's house, Aisha's mother. Aminat was surprised and worried to see her daughter and grandsons. "Oh, my daughter, what happened? How did you end up like this?" Aminat asked, hugging Aisha tightly. Aisha wiped her tears and told her mother everything about Hakim's family. Aminat listened, feeling angry and very sad. "They called you a witch, accused you of killing your husband. This is crazy," Aminat said, her voice filled with anger. Aisha felt relieved to share her troubles with her mother. With Amina's comforting words, Aisha felt a little bit hopeful. She knew that her mother would be there for her no matter what happened. Inside the house, Jamil and Jamal sat quietly, trying to make sense of everything that had happened. Jamil couldn't stop feeling angry and shocked about how they were treated by Hakim's family members. "How are we supposed to just move on after what they did?" Jamil said, frustration in his voice. Jamal listened carefully to his brother, feeling the weight of their situation. He knew they had to be strong for their mother. "We have to stay strong for Mama. She needs us very much now," Jamal said, trying to encourage his brother. With that, they joined their grandmother for a meal, hoping for a better tomorrow. Later that night, Aisha sat outside, lost in her thoughts under the bright moonlight. Suddenly, her mother's voice brought her back to reality. "I've been calling you for about 3 minutes, Aisha. I even said your name twice," Aminat said gently. Aisha wiped her tears and listened to her mother's comforting words. "There is no use crying over spilled milk. We need to find a way out of this situation. We will move forward and show them that they made a mistake today," Aminat advised. After a moment of silence, Aminat decided to call her friend Khadija, whose husband owned a hospital. She dialed the number and Khadija answers. After exchanging pleasantries, Aminat explained the situation to Khadija and asked if there was a job available for Aisha at the hospital. Khadija assured her that there was indeed a position and promised to help Aisha start as soon as possible. Grateful for Khadija's help, Aminat thanked her a lot before hanging up. Turning to Aisha, she shared the good news. Aisha, filled with joy, thanked her mother for all of her help and encouragement. Excited and grateful, Aisha thanked her mother again before they both went to bed, hopeful for a brighter tomorrow. The next morning, as soon as Aisha heard the rooster crow, she called Khadija about the job offer. Khadija, feeling guilty, explained that the only available job was for a cleaner. Aisha was saddened by this news, but she knew she had to accept it to be able to provide for her children. She promised to start the job the following day. Starting the new job as a cleaner, Aisha knew it wasn't the most exciting job, but she helped put food on the table for her family. Jamal and Jamil supported their own grandmother who sold clothes in the busy markets. Every day, Aisha left for work early, while Jamil and Jamal went with their grandmother. They all worked hard, finding comfort in supporting each other. One day, as Aisha scrubbed the floor of the hospital, she overheard some nurses talking about her dedication. "Isn't Aisha amazing?" one nurse whispered to the other. "She's always got a smile on her face, no matter how tough her job is." Aisha felt a warm feeling inside. It was nice to know that her hard work was being appreciated. One day, while Aisha was cleaning at the hospital, she met a kind man who was a doctor. After they had said hello to each other, Aisha told him about her qualifications as a trained nurse. The doctor was impressed and offered to help her. That evening, Aisha was so excited to share the news with her family during dinner. They were all so happy to hear it. A nurse again, that's amazing, Mama, Jamal exclaimed, his eyes wide with excitement. Yes, I can't believe it, my son. It is like a dream come true for us, Aisha replied, smiling. A few days later, Aisha started her new job as a nurse in the hospital. It was a big and popular hospital, and the salary was a catchy one. She was very committed and took care of her patients with great care. With Aisha's new job and Amina's support, their family's financial situation began to improve. They were able to save money and even started talking about the boys going back to school to finish their education. I never thought I would have the chance to go back to school, Jamie said, his eyes shining with excitement. Me neither, but now anything is possible, Jamal replied, his face beaming with hope. Aisha was thrilled by her son's determination. She had always believed in them, and now they were proving that they could achieve anything they set their minds to do. Over the next few years, Aisha, Jamil and Jamal worked hard and studied even harder. They faced challenges along the way, but they never gave up hope. Their in-laws, upon hearing of the progress Aisha and her sons had made, started to reach out to them, claiming that Aisha had taken their sons' children away from them and demanding their return. Aisha refused, reminding them that they were the ones who had thrown her and her children out. Aminat, although now old, stood firm, declaring that they would have to kill her before they took her grandsons away. Aisha was devastated. She couldn't believe that her in-laws would have the audacity to come to her after everything they had been through. A few years later, Jamil and Jamal graduated from the university. Jamil, now an engineer, and Jamal, an accountant, were both thrilled. They brought immense joy to their mother and grandmother. One day, while Aisha and Aminat were alone in the house, they heard knocks on the door. Aisha wondered who it was because they weren't expecting any visitor at the time. Aisha took it upon herself to check who it was. When she got there, she was surprised to find Hakeem's family standing right in front of her. Aminat asked Aisha to let them come in and have their seats, demanding to know what had brought them to her house. With sad looks on their face, they began to apologize to Aminat and Aisha, demanding their return to the house. Aisha insisted that they had chased her away and she had no place in their lives anymore. They begged her and apologized for all the pain that they had caused her through all those years. Aminat urged Aisha to forgive them, but insisted that they were never going back to the house. Aisha listened to her mother and decided to forgive them. After a while, the in-laws left, regretting what they had done to her during the time Hakeem had died. When Jamil and Jamal returned, Aisha told them about who came to visit them and told them how their father's relative had asked them to come back. Jamil was very upset. He didn't believe they would ask for their return after everything they had been through. Jamal insisted that they were not going to go back to them because they had come a long way without their help. Aminat nodded and insisted that Jamil was right. Although they still felt pain in their hearts, but they forgave their father's relative and decided to make peace with them. After some time, Jamil and Jamal, alongside with their mom and grandmother, decided to relocate abroad, leaving their past behind them. It was a moment of happily ever after from then onwards. The moral lesson of this story teaches us that Aisha, despite being mistreated by her in-laws, remained resilient and determined to provide for her children. With the support of her mother Aminat and the determinations of her sons Jamil and Jamal, Aisha rebuilt their lives. They overcame adversity, pursued their education and career opportunities, and eventually found happiness. The story highlights the themes of resilience, family support, perseverance, forgiveness, and hope in the face of uncertainty. Additionally, it emphasizes the importance of treating family members, especially in-laws, with kindness and respect, as mistreatment can lead to a lasting pain and unforgivable hardship. Thanks for watching this captivating story on African stories and folktales. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories. Thank you.